We have a Rogue mirror match that's coming up, but it is not a mirror in terms of deck lists. Very different archetypes that they're bringing. Similar to our last one, but also very different, where, I think that if the game goes tit for tat, that Bunnyhoppor's going to be favored in this one, as he is playing Pogohopper Rogue. Haha. And Fino is bringing the Water Rogue in this one. We're taking a look at Bunnyhoppor's deck list first. It's been a joke for a long time after they printed the first card to represent a World Championship, or call Cadence to it, rather, with Fiery Bat. And Firebat winning the 2014 World Championships, that Bunnyhoppor was supposed to win this last year because they made Pogohopper.
This is just very funny to me. I keep bringing this up. Like, Bunnyhoppor, he's a very smart guy. I'm sure he put a lot of thought into this, But I wonder if it just came down to the wire and he was like, why not just play me?
Why not just play you? Oh, I get it. You're talking from Bunnyhoppor's perspective.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I was like, there's no milk lackey.
0-0.
I guess kind of Barista Lynch, and she's putting cream and coffee and stuff.
Oh,
maybe Gallon's future world champion.
I don't like her entrance animation.
Oh,
Blizzard, we need to fix this.
No, I think it's perfect. You're wrong. Take a look at Fino's deck, where you're probably wrong about something else here too. Fino a couple weeks ago said he thought this deck was unplayable. And then he explained himself yesterday during the interview process, where he's like, every good player looks at this list and they go, this is unplayable, what is it doing? And then you get some reps in on it and you go, wow, okay, this is actually pretty good. I'm still yet to be totally convinced. I think it's a strong deck, but I think its most powerful turns just, it's like strictly Edwin to me, and everything else just feels like pretty good.
Edwin good. We look at this matchup compared to the previous one, and the one thing I noticed that there's no burn in Fino's deck.
Right.
And also, for the Waggle pick, he does not have Raiding Party to fetch it. Now, that is actually a blessing in disguise. Bunnyhoppor is running double Acidic Swamp Ooze here, so Waggle pick isn't really your primary game plan.
Yeah, I mean, we saw Orange use it in a very tertiary way.
Yes.
Haha. To be able to it was like a 6-mana Shadow Step, basically, is what he ended up using it for. But it worked out. The game built slow enough because he was able to fight for board very aggressively. I think when it comes to just a pure board fight, because there's not a ton of removal on both sides, that Fino is somewhat favored in that regard. But again, my massive fear for it is that if he cannot check Pogohopper's getting out of hand, he's going to be at a big detriment. We've heard opinions from from multiple players who have said that they don't think that the burn versions are favored versus Pogohopper. I believe them, but at the same time, I'm skeptical because I like to report what my eyes and my ears report to me, which is the burn versions have been kicking butt in that matchup.
I might disagree a little bit here. I think that Orange's game, if you look back at it, Burn won him the game, but it was all the board fighting stuff that really clutched it for him.
That won him the match.
Yes, I would say that if you're looking specifically at the last couple of turns, yes, he killed him with Leroy and Eviscerate and Waggle Pick, but the other cards are what got him to that point.
That's a good point you make, because even in game number 1, when he had the Waggle Pick on curve and he blasted through his hand, I mean, he had Myra's as his only card in hand after his turn 5 was done. He used the Waggle Pick largely to fight for board pressure. He used his lackeys to fight for board pressure. He wasn't really on a burn plan. The burn plan was the auxiliary to the finish, so that so that Casey couldn't recover in the match. It wasn't the primary way that he won. It was through minions sticking to the board and delivering attacks.
Looking at this game, you were talking earlier about how Edwin is the good card.
I think that's the major spectacular blowout turn you can have is Edwin Van Cleef. And I feel like that's one of the only ones with this deck, which to me is kind of what makes it an interesting rogue deck. I feel like rogues have often pivoted solely on their ability to have blowout victories with the right combination.
I think that Evil Miscreant is another card like that, where if you draw it and you have a way to activate it, it puts you so far ahead if your opponent doesn't have the same thing.
It's in a very different way, though.
That's fair, because you don't play it and then just hit your opponent in the face with it. You play it and then react to what your opponent's doing, and there's a lot of choices that you have to make. I mean, there are choices you have to make with Edwin as well, but I would say that the complexity of Evil Miscreant is a little bit harder.
Apologize for the spectator issues we are experiencing at the moment. We're going to get these fixed as quickly as possible. It does happen from time to time as the technology is the vehicle esports, and sometimes that vehicle stalls a little bit. The players are still playing their game, so we don't want to miss anything, and we want to get back as quickly as possible. So again, thank you for your patience. Kind of talking about Edwin and the philosophy up here a little bit. I feel like when you make a mistake with Edwin and you go too far in on it, it's so much more forgiving to you because it's very difficult to kill a big Edwin. I feel like when you misuse lackeys from Evil Miscreant or you have a bad outcome from it, you often are left looking at the situation going, well, now what am I supposed to do? With Edwin, it gets blown up, and if your big minion gets blown up and that's what your deck does, yeah, you'll lose that game sometimes. It's a very different feel, both by being attacked from it and by being counterattacked as a result of it. That's the reason I like Evil Miscreant. I think it's, you know, pushing the envelope quite a bit. I like that, though. I wish every class was pushing the envelope a bit.
You know, I gotta say that I actually am a big fan of Evil Miscreant. I think that before the nerf, it was a bit too powerful.
Yeah.
But the way the game pans out when players have this card is just really exciting to see, I would say. There's just so many different decisions that you can make.
Just even right now. The difference in this
shadow stepping this, I don't really like it. I think that Fino really wants to save a shadow step for his Edwin. If we look at Bunnyhoppor's list, he's only running 1 sap. This was actually a decision point that was made with board control versus Bunnyhoppor.
Yeah.
And I think that just making a big Edwin against a list that's running 1 sap is a really good idea.
The other thing to consider, too, is that when Evil Miscreant was a 1/5, I feel like you often never had to consider this. It was so hard to deliver 5 damage in an efficient, reasonable way. This turn would be backstab, SI, and a dagger punch in order to get that done. So, you know, not any different than SI and backstab right now, but we're looking at Thalnos backstab answers it. We're looking at Eviscerate with something answers it. Straight up. You don't have to invest extra into it. Something as nominal as dagger attack is not a big deal, but heck, even if your opponent played a 3/3, they couldn't attack your thing and prevent you from poking their minion and then shadow stepping. It being a 1/4 feels like it's kind of fair.
Only kind of.
Kind of. But that's all I'm asking for. This is a card game, man. I don't want stuff to be fair. I want stuff to be interactive, not fair.
I agree with you. I want people to have powerful turns. Honestly, I really like how they approached nerfing Evil Miscreant. I think that now it is a card that is still quite good. You know, you're looking at its effect being the most powerful part of the card. However, just small little things like that can change, you know, 1 game every 5 or so, 1 game every 10.
It's a cascading effect. So think about, I'm going to reference the matchup with Orange and Casey, I think, quite a bit in this one. So if you missed that one, I apologize. But long story short, I've been told multiple times, I'm starting to buy into it more as I'm seeing this game pan out, that the burn list with Raiding Party is not as efficient versus Pogohopper as Water Rogue is. And as I'm seeing the minions start to bounce back and forth, I can believe it, where fighting for board is paramount.
Fenomeno has the ability to capitalize on a large board state, which can happen often in this matchup. You're looking at double Sea Giant as being just 4 or 5 mana 8/8s. Those are big. Bunnyhoppor does not have any answers to 4 or 5 mana 8/8s.
Fino, I think, was looking for Faceless Lackey here.
It's actually really interesting to me that he Shadow Stepped this turn.
Yeah, I was just thinking Blinkbox looks pretty okay.
Yeah, right? We could go Kobold Lackey, Shadow Step, or any other Lackey, Shadow Step, and then next turn make an 8/8. So I wonder if he's thinking about... I wonder what he's thinking about.
Well,
I feel like
there's 2 Fate of Knives in Bunny's deck. Perhaps he wants to try to you know, encourage him to use Fan of Knives.
At the same time, that's a pretty good turn for Bunnyhoppor. I'm not really sure how using your Shadow Step and denying yourself an 8/8 Edwin is that good. I'll be interested to see Fino's thoughts on this if we get him after the game is over.
I feel like oftentimes the follow-up plays explain it a lot too. Could just be, I want to have a game plan, and lackeys have random outcomes. I need to see what they're producing in order to develop a strong game plan.
That's fair.
I think that Fino is one of the players, to me, who opens that door more often, where he wants to avoid unknown territory, he wants to avoid catastrophe in a lot of his plays, and he tries to just get to a position where he can flex his cards around the circumstance and get a favorable position because of it.
He might be saying that Bunnyhoppor is running 1 copy of Sap, and he has a game plan that just never loses his Sap, so go for that instead.
I'm telling you, that's Fino in a nutshell, if I were to describe his play with 1 or 2 sentences. That, to me, is one of the most accurate descriptions. Avoid catastrophe.
Yeah. We've been talking about that a lot this weekend. I feel like all of these players are so good at it.
Yeah. It's so hard to see, like, everything bad that can happen. I could have been thinking about that draw as well. If the game just progresses slowly and piece by piece, that High Spare and Togwaggle becomes a massively powerful draw when you can utilize lackeys to occupy time.
Well, yeah, but if you make an 8/8 and you hit your opponent in the face, you don't get to play Togwaggle, not because anything bad is going on. You're killing your opponent, they're dead.
Gallon, you're making too much sense now.
I mean, I agree with you. That is a reason to play the Shadow Step.
That's my job. Figure out what they're doing.
Maybe
your
Fino
job
has a play cards quest in Rogue, and he just wants the extra gold. He decided to get Bunny.
Yeah, this is a really solid play here. Fino actually needs to play 32 more Rogue cards in order to unlock that 60 gold. So the more he maximizes that, the more efficient it is.
Honestly, that's just way more important.
Looks good to me. Hold
I
3
agree.
threes battle cries so you can rush them in and kill evil miscreants.
Just
slowly take advantage.
The onboard play. Next turn, we still cannot play our Edwin unless it's a 4-4. I think that... Gosh, I just want to say that I disagree with what Fino did here.
Go on.
Well, normally,
Talk about it.
when I disagree with Fino, I often come back thinking, whoa, hey, wait a second. What he did was actually pretty smart. I still have yet to see how this pans out, and I think as the game goes along, I don't think we will see it pan out. I think that turn 4 having an 8-8 in play in this kind of matchup where there's very few answers for it. There's a sap exactly.
So many options.
It just strikes me as weird.
So let's talk about the early plays and how you would have set this up. You had coin in hand, you had Edwin. What's the sequence? Walk me through step by step on the sequence to make the 8-8.
I mean, turn 3, I think we could have just played a Blink Fox. We just use our mana, make a 3-3. That's probably good enough. Turn 4, we have a Kobold Lackey, a Shadow Step, and an Edwin. I think that two damage pings for the Kobold Lackey is good enough to fight for board, that our Edwin will kind of come down uncontested, I would say.
So you're looking at Kobold Lackey, Shadow Step, and Kobold Lackey.
Yeah, maybe
Edwin.
kill an evil miscreen or something,
okay.
And then just have an 8-8 in play. Even if Bunnyhoppor has sap at that point, like, what is he doing with his mana on turn 5? Sap 3-drop. That's like second evil miscreant.
Wait, okay, Edwin got to 3 attack via the Lackey. I was like, I saw it. I was watching it happen, and I was like, wait a second. Something feels wrong here. A 2-2 Edwin. How often do you see that one?
We almost saw it. We almost saw it yesterday. There was a treasure chest, or Zarog's Crown for 2 Edwins as one of the options. And you're actually talking about it because we could Shadow Step the Edwin back to our hand and just make, you know, a 14-14 that turn.
Yeah.
I actually kind of liked it.
That's about the only time I see 2-2 Edwin anymore.
I believe that was RDU versus Swids.
Yeah.
Hunter versus Rogue. It was a good game if you haven't caught it.
6-6 Edwin. You know, maybe that's something else that Fino's thinking about when I think about all the lackeys parsing together is if Bunny plays a big Edwin, you didn't have an answer to it in your hand. The combination of lackeys plus Edwin a lot of times allows you to answer it because you're going to have to spend a lot, and maybe you get to swing back with your own Edwin, or you have to rush your Edwin into theirs and take advantage of the game later on. I think that actually could have been an active line of thinking. I'm going to note this. Edwin game 1, Fino.
I just think it's a really interesting spot. I feel like Fino's someone that would just immediately go for an 8-8 Edwin. So
that actually has been like his play style too.
Yes. He is someone that will play for tempo and seize it and just run over his opponent if given the chance. So he has to be approaching this matchup in a vastly different way where he's figured out something,
you know,
that I just haven't.
The timing of this Edwin is quite unique as well, where Bunnyhoppor wants to answer the Edwin. If he does that just face up on board, he actually doesn't answer the Lackey, and that gives an on-curve Togwaggle.
That is something to think about.
Wow.
I think that's actually what's going to happen here.
That could have been happenstance this ended up occurring, but because he held the Edwin, this actually came up.
Yes, we get to play the Togwaggle and our opponent isn't dead.
Oh. Wow, that's kind of weird. Look at that! That's brilliant!
I'm not going to call it that just yet. I'm still questioning it. However, it's worked out quite nicely.
Even if it's happenstance, it works out brilliantly.
Sometimes the wrong play works out.
I'm going to rephrase that because I want to look at the disruption effect that this provides instead. Bunnyhoppor has an onboard challenge on Fino's turn, and it's supplemented by the Edwin. So there's 2 challenges. Number 1, clear the Lackey so they can't play High Spare and Togwaggle on curve. Number 2, kill the Edwin so you don't die. If you can only do one of those, Fino gets a payoff one way or the other. That's how disruption in Hearthstone works is creating objectives for your opponent and then capitalizing on whichever one they fail to check.
I agree with you. Sometimes you want to make plays where your opponent can only answer one of them. That's a big part of Hearthstone. I just think that it could have been a little bit better executed this game.
I'm not going to deny that. I'm pointing out benefits here, Galen.
There you go.
I'm not here to give a lecture. This isn't a seminar. I'm not here to educate you on how to play like Fino. I'm here to explain what Fino's doing so you can get some interesting insight into it. Galen, that's your job to give the seminars and to teach people how to play. So if you want to keep hammering that point home, you go ahead.
Fino, one turn out of this entire weekend I think was wrong.
Well, I'll tell you what's not wrong in this game. All the resources are in Fino's favor.
I wonder.
This is a convincing lead. He's even sapping a pogo. That's really funny to me.
You don't usually do that. Oh!
That is big. He's ginormous. He's just...
It's like a super guy.
Yeah, he's just a super guy. He's just big. That's surprising.
Wondrous Wand is so good in this particular deck.
Because you have such a heavy top end. You've got, you know, High Spear and Togwaggle, Sea Giant, Leroy, Spirit of the Shark. All those cards really want to be 0 mana.
It's like, look at Fino's hand right now. After everything he's already played, we still have 12, 21, we still have 23 mana worth of cards to play. If you count the Head Crack as rolling over, it's 24. And if you count the Lackey, he'll get 25 mana is still left in hand for Fino, and we're heading into turn 8. Wondrous Wand just produced 13 mana worth of cards.
Can I talk about something interesting this game? I feel like I'm learning something about this matchup, and that is that Acidic Swamp Ooze is just terrible.
Just not getting the job done.
I feel like we've been in so many spots where they have an Ooze for the entire game. Their opponent, Fino in this case, just doesn't play a Waggle Pick or doesn't have it. And even if he did have it, just wouldn't go for it. And it's just stuck there as a 2-mana 3/2.
So that's something that I want to talk about with this list as well. Is, you know, this is week 1 after the expansion. I'm sorry, after the Rise of the Next patch that came in. The Bunnyhoppor list I don't think is refined. And kind of looking at that situation, I tend to agree with you. I think this card has often been stuck in hand and not really servicing a large purpose. And so when I look at that face down or face up, what I go is this deck has some room to build with. It's already looked pretty good, but it could look even better. And so I'm excited to see where this deck goes.
You know, I just agree with you. I just agree with you. I think that sometimes tech cards sound really good on paper, but then you have to factor in your opponent playing around them. You know, something on ladder, for example. Let's say we're playing Bunnyhoppor is playing Pheno on ladder, and they don't know each other's lists. Bunnyhoppor's oozes are going to crush.
So much better.
You know, Pheno doesn't know about it. He's going to play his middle play every single turn and then get punished by the ooze. But when Pheno knows, about it, I feel like it just doesn't get the job done. You're kind of looking at, you're looking at it as you're just dissuading Pheno from playing the Waggle Pick, you know? But if you do that, then Acidic Swamp Ooze is just a dead card. You can't play it because if you play it, then Pheno is free to play his weapon. But if you don't play it, then it's not in play.
And then Bunnyhoppor is a dead player. Going to game 2, Pheno dominant in this one. There's not really much to say about this. Pheno at every step of the way, he took care of Bunnyhoppor's card and generated value. Bunnyhoppor gassed out. That was a simple, clean game of Hearthstone where Pheno was patient and found payoffs by leveraging situations on board. Whether or not that Edwin is intentionally timed, I don't care. He got the payoff for it. And that, to me, is the mark of whether that be strong instinct or good practice. That turn was sick from Pheno.
Yeah, it was a really small margin of error right there, where if Bunnyhoppor had 1 more damage, he would just totally deny that play, but it just worked out perfectly.
You love to see that, honestly. And so when I take a look at the secondary and tertiary decks here, I am curious about Pheno's secondary deck, where I was talking about with some of the players removing Waggle Picks. Both of Pheno's side decks actually remove Waggle Pick. One of them is meant for a warrior-oriented matchup. It's got just greedy minions that are stacked on the side. The other one is you take out 2 life drinkers, 2 life drinkers, 2 Waggle Picks, and a Ziliax. In its place go 2 betrayals, a sap, a walk the plank, and a big game hunter. That's kind of similar to what Orange did, except you're lacking the pressure from minions. However, that's where Fino's deck build is different. Almost the entire deck is nominal pressure, where a lot of Orange's deck is seeded as burn and combo to get to that point. But I've gotten where he is sticking primary, and I think it's just because the primary list is strong enough.
You know, I think that it's similar for the mage matchup, but when you're talking about specifically Pogo Rogue, they're quite different. Remember that Orange was siding in a ton of pressure with Fairy Dragons and Henge Clan Thugs, things that I'd say Pogo Rogue has a tough time dealing with. For Fino, you're looking at adding Betrayals, Saps, Walk the Planks, and BGHs. If the game is getting to that point where you're playing defensively, your opponent's summoning 7/7s and 9/9s, that's not really the game plan that you want to strive for. You're just putting in a bunch of cards that are only good when you're behind.
Sometimes you got to go that direction, but ideally you don't.
I think that what Fino wants to do is play a proactive game plan.
Sure.
All the cards that he would add with his secondary just don't make sense, unlike Orange's list.
Yeah, we've gotten word that Bunnyhoppor is moving over to his secondary list. I'm sorry. Yeah, to his secondary list, where he removes 2 Acidic Swamp Ooze. He removes a Shiv and a Snip Snap. In its place come a Sap, a Walk the Plank, and 2 Vanish.
This actually doesn't surprise me. I find it really cool, though. I was talking about this a little bit earlier on this broadcast. If you switch out your tech cards, but your opponent keeps playing around them, that's like
you have them.
It's like you have them.
In order for Fino to get word that Bunnyhopper's swapped to this deck, he needs to see Vanish or Walk the Plank, or 2 copies of Sap. That's the only way he gets word that Bunnyhopper's swapped to that.
Which means that in the early game, he's probably not going to see it, unless he gets specifically an Edwin and Bunnyhoppor has to Walk the Plank it. That's the only outcome that I can really foresee that.
I love... Maybe it's possible if Fino anticipates this as well. I think Vanish is quite good versus Water Rogue, where it's already got very clunky value-oriented hands. And so when you stuff all that back into their hand, what ends up happening is it's just clogging up their mana. You know, they spend so much of the game getting value and tempo and fighting very aggressively that when you can offset that with a timely Vanish, I think that can be super powerful.
What I will say is that Fino will not be going for the weapons game plan. I mean, yeah, I just have to agree with you. If you're vanishing a huge board, you're happy.
That's typically why you play Vanish, yeah. I'm not going to play Vanish as a 6-mana Sap. I mean, I have.
But you
I
don't
didn't
wanna.
like it.
Yeah, you don't want to.
I actually think the first time I did that, I was playing with you on Kingsbane Rogue. And we got to a turn, and opponent played just something big, and you went, you have to Vanish. I was like, why? I have Leeching Poison King. You're like, you have to Vanish. You're like, you're going to die if you don't Vanish. And then I vanished. And then 2 turns later, I saw, oh, wow, I would have died. They just had a lot of burn damage in their hand. And you're like, tempo, good. And that was like my big introduction into the Ike, Zalay, Gallon line of thinking. Ike, a player who made it to the World Championships this year, works very closely with Zalay, who's one of the Grandmasters in the Americas region. And I was like, this is a very interesting way of simplifying the game, where if you understand the language, you know why they want to do it.
Yeah, I have to agree with you that good players, when you're talking with one, you can often shortcut what you're saying. You know, there's a lot of little details that are just kind of an immediate, yes, we all understand what's going on here, so we can simplify, you know, a paragraph of information into, you know, 1 word or 1 sentence.
Yeah, it's just inferred. It's like hearing chess variations or watching someone quit a chess game where you're like, wait, why did they quit? And the reason was they saw a play that someone made, and they looked up at him, and they looked down at the board, and they looked back up, and they went, ah, crap. He has the thing. He found the line.
It's really interesting in Hearthstone. I feel like there's a lot of complicated stuff that people are just so good now that, you know, it's considered simple. But you kind of just have to chunk it. So you'll learn something, you'll go through the repetitions with it a lot, and then you just store that away in your brain saying, okay, I know how this situation plays out, so I assume everyone else knows how the situation plays out. You know what I mean? But no, it's still very complicated.
Yes, it's a very common misassumption that everyone else understands what you know. Yeah.
And you could even be playing against someone better than you, but they don't understand, you know, one of these chunks of information. You just haven't gone through the reps, and you have, and you can use that to your advantage. This is a...
Take note, players who call Mage simple.
This is a rogue hand if I've seen one. Sap, Shadow Step, Sap, Prep, Backstab.
Well, we said that Vino wouldn't know unless he saw 2 Saps.
You want to Sap a Miscreant?
No.
Where's our Gadgetzan Auctioneer?
It finally came up. We talked about positioning, and it finally happened.
He's smiling.
Genius positioning.
It'd be really funny if if you didn't do that, though.
Man, I'll tell you what. The matches today are just looking one-sided.
You know what I gotta say about Fino, though, is like, even with the Direwolf
So
Alpha,
many
everything that he did
options.
about it is correct. He put his 2/1/1s on one side,
Yeah.
he put the Evil Miscreant on the other. It's not even like he lined up the Direwolf with the Miscreant. It's that he put the Evil Cable Rat in the optimal place, too. You know,
Yeah.
it's just...
With summon
Smaller-
minions, you have to have something go on the right side. You can't necessarily control the summon as well.
Yeah, but it's just these smaller and smaller optimizations to the turn. He's just nailing them.
Bunnyhoppor's hand is just looking kind of dead. I'm thinking of some draws that could be really good for him. One of the big ones that comes to mind for me right now is Myra's Unstable Element.
I think, yeah.
Evil Miscreant seems big to me right now.
I think there's a couple combinations of like 2 cards that would be really good as well. Novice Vanish, for example.
Ooh. First half done.
Novice.
Gallon, you're officially becoming a caster when you can say things and they just show up. I don't know what it is. It's a weird thing that happens, but man, every time I'm sitting there playing Hearthstone, I'm like, man, I really wish I could draw like a Wrench Caliber right now. And I'm like, Town Crier, Shield Block. And I'm like, this
So
never happens when I do it at
many
home. Just the minute I step onto a cast, I say something, boom, there it is. Every time.
That's like what happens when you say, hey, please don't have a Psychic Scream my opponent, and then they rip it. That happens to me a lot.
So now, Pogo Hopper and Lab Recruiter, we saw Bunny forego that last game because he was desperate for a specific card. He didn't want to water the deck down.
I wonder if you even do that. There's a play involving Lab Recruiting your own Novice Engineer, and you do that to set up a good Vanish. So you would go Novice,
I
Novice, Prep
wonder.
Vanish, for example, and then
Oh.
you're actually generating resources at that point. It's a really weird thing.
It's very
to think
quest
about.
roguish.
Yes, and I'm not sure if I really like it. I'm just saying that our hand does nothing.
Something to think about. And you were talking about Vanish being good, and I think that Bunnyhopper is setting up specifically Vanish in the spot. He saps to buy time. He says, you know what? I need to find Vanish in order for this to work out. And so the Shadow Step of the Novice Engineer gives you that turn of the 0-cost Novice plus the Vanish that goes in there. So I think that Bunny isn't eyeing Vanish on turn 6. I think he's eyeing it on turn 7 with like Pogo Hopper and Novice Engineer.
I mean, also, one of the things to consider is that if you go Lab Recruiter on your Pogo Hopper, yes, that is the minion that you normally want to do it with, but a 3/3, 5/5, those aren't actually that great of a draws right now. I think that he wants a slightly more powerful card in hand than a Pogo Hopper at this point. You know, Vanish, especially.
And look at Fino's side. Why would they sap a Hench Clan Burglar?
I'm looking at it and saying, wow, they sat my Henchland Burglar. I'm feeling great about this game.
So you're not thinking about the why. You're going, free stuff. I like free stuff.
I mean, you're saying that, but you're also saying that my opponent is sitting on a pretty bad hand at this point. Cold Blood. He's going to take it. Oh, this is hard.
So he's thinking specifically about Vanish and Sap when he's playing damage battle cries instead of playing value battle cries.
Yep, I agree.
The third one that comes back to hand right now is the Life Drinker, though. So Miscreant and Ethereal Lackey would come back, and Vanish
There's
gets
the
drawn.
Vanish.
I'm telling you, Gallon, if you say it as a caster, it just starts happening.
I think that is the most important card in Bunnyhopper's deck right now, bar none.
So now
Myra's
timing.
is good. Yes, timing. How do you play this turn out? We
So-
have this preparation.
The goal
So
is
many
clearly
options.
Vanish for value.
Mhm.
If you do it this turn, you're getting back a Pogo Hopper down on board, and that's it.
It sounds like this is not the turn to do it, but maybe Bunnyhopper is just thinking he's in a bad enough spot where if you... Oh,
Wow.
okay. I guarantee you, even though Bunnyhopper isn't smiling right now, that he is very happy to pick up a second Vanish.
I saw the eyebrows raise, where even Bunnyhopper's like, wow. Those were the two best cards in my deck right now.
It's kind of funny looking at these two players. They're both... Fino, I feel, is very reactive in a lot of spots. When something goes right for him, or he sees something that's a little bit cheeky, like Direwolf positioning, he often, you know, lets out a laugh or a smile. But Bunnyhopper, I don't really ever see the emotional.
My hand is too full.
This goes back to Fino playing a Life Drinker into the Vanish turn.
He would have gotten back one less minion if he'd played a value card instead. So when I see Vanish in Fino's spot here, I'm starting to think the damage train. If they're going to keep
many
putting minions back in my
options.
hand, I want my minions to damage him when it's happening.
They need their Ziliax. If Bunnyhoppor doesn't have it, then you're in a pretty good spot.
It makes me start to think about Waggle's pick as well.
Well, this is when you see the Vanish. So now Waggle Pick is a card that you could actually play, and it will not get us into Swamp Boost. That's actually worth considering.
That's
yeah.
exactly where my head was going.
Yep. I like it.
I keep calling it Waggle's pick. Well, it's just a Waggle pick. It doesn't belong to Waggle.
That's not as bad as Tog Waggle's Pick, which I've heard a lot. I've actually said that too. That's kind of embarrassing.
Yeah, its Death Rattle is you swap decks with your opponent, and they get a ransom card.
That sounds way too good.
Spirit of the mage one? Dragonhawk.
It does not look like a bat.
Dragonhawk.
Yep.
Your hero powers do not target in Rogue, and therefore, this is a 0-3.
Not the best.
That's it.
In fact, I would call it probably the worst, besides Doomsayer, exactly.
Doomsayer, I think, actually
I
might have been
wonder.
decent here. Because you buy initiative back. I mean, you kind of want an empty hand size. This isn't a spectacular board. You obviously want chip damage, but I think Spirit of the Dragonhawk is worse than Doomsayer here. Literally does nothing.
Nah, because then your opponent has to answer your 1/1 still because you're pushing 4 damage. with it.
Okay, fair enough. No, you know what? I'm sticking to my guns. It's worse. I'm doing it. Yeah, that's right. I said it.
I don't want to say you're just wrong, but
You're free to say it.
yeah, you're just wrong.
Okay. I'll remember that.
Choose
You can say it back to me, but I'm
No,
just wrong.
I'll remember next time you're wrong.
That's good.
I don't know when it's going to happen, but it will one day.
Never. All the time. You just gotta spot it.
Long-term revenge from movies.
That's a weird thing.
That's exactly what I'm thinking about. You know what? The 0-3 actually isn't that bad because of Cold Blood.
Well,
Dang
you're saying minions in play is better than no minions in play?
All right.
That's crazy to be
so
admirable.
many options.
I wish we had a Doomsayer so we had 3 less damage.
You know, Gallon, why don't you just shut it? Don't actually do that. I need a co-caster. Solo casting is miserable.
I just leave you alone for like the next 3 hours. I just sit here silentless, motionless,
And everyone's like, what's wrong with Gallon?
growling at Admirable the entire time.
Growling! Burn plan. Sinister Strike in hand. 2 SIs in hand. Life Drinker in hand. The Vanish plan is not quick enough. We need Pogo. We need
Got the
Pogo for
Ziliax.
Ziliax. If Bunnyhoppor vanishes, he is dead.
You're saying exactly Novice Engineer into Pogohopper. Is he still dead at that point?
3-3 Pogohopper, is it?
So it takes 5 damage. We can go Rapid Fire, SI7, SI7. I believe.
I mean,
he's
there's
still alive.
tons of damage in Fino's hand.
I believe he's still alive. I want to say that the mana isn't there. The damage is, but the mana isn't.
4 from Rapid Fire Sinister Strike, 4 from Waggle Pick, that's 8. 2 from SI7 Agent, that's used 5 mana.
Yep.
And then you have 1 more mana to use, that's 6 mana, and then you have 2 mana left over from that point.
Edwin's big, but not gonna cut it. Fino's gonna take it.
I think Bunnyhopper's settling on Ziliax, and I still don't think that's enough to sustain through it.
Remember that we can pick up this SI7 Agent.
Choose soon.
I think that Bunnyhoppor,
It's more than enough.
with the mana iteration, no, I think with the mana iteration, if he Ziliax is the 1-2, he lives at 1 health. Sinister Strike, Rapid Fire is 4 damage. Waggle Pick, that's 8 damage. SI7 Agent and Ziliax, so it doesn't get a secondary lifesteal. It goes back to your
He
hand.
has 2 SI7 Agents. Remember that.
Mana expenditure, you can only spend 2 SI7 agents. Is that right? 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Yeah,
Nope,
it's lethal.
he's dead.
This guy's toast.
Yeah, because he gets to respend the second SI7 agent. Holy smokes. I'm so tunnel on this rapid fire. What the heck am I doing?
I don't know.
This
I would
guy's
say it was just wrong there.
I'll tell you what I'm not doing. Thanks, Gallon. I'm not going 8-0 in Grandmasters and remaining undefeated in our match of the day. 8-0. Bunnyhoppor has had 2 chances to stop Fino, and he can't do it. He's the only one of 48 Grandmasters who is 8-0, Gallon. 8-0.
Oh, what's really funny to me is that he wasn't as happy when he was winning that last game as he was when he got the Direwolf Alpha. He's a cheeky guy, man.
What is happening? You have to lose a game eventually.
And not if you're Fino.
Apparently not. Maybe I'm wrong about that as well. Maybe Fino just never loses a match ever again. It's a possible timeline.
Possibilities are endless.
Yes. I don't like definitive things. They're so final. Possibilities,
There you go.
anything can happen. Now you understand why I try to
Admirable
encourage
possibly being right.
you. You see why I try to encourage you to speak in terms of thought process instead of
Yes.
saying bad or good or right
Yes.
or wrong.
Yes.
It's a grading scale. Fino's ready for an interview. Fino, can you hear us?
Yeah, guys, what's up?
Let me get this straight.
Hello?
You take a step back from practicing. You relax. You find a mental focus, and now you're 8-0. Do you wish you would have done it longer ago?
I mean, like, maybe the last time that I spoke about this, I spoke wrong, because, like, I don't really take a step off. For me, a step off is not playing all day. So I think people, like, misinterpreted wrong that, like, I don't play Hearthstone and I win. No, of course I play Hearthstone. Of course I watch Hearthstone all the time, because even watching Hearthstone makes you a better player, sometimes even better than actually playing the game, because you see things that you wouldn't think of, and you're like, then maybe I should try thinking this, right? But I think having a clear mind and, you know, believing in what you think is good instead of what other people tell you is good and stuff like that, I feel that's really important. And, well, here I am doing what I think is right.
So let's talk about that balance specifically. What was it like before, and now what does the typical day look like for you?
I think before I was way more stressed. Like, I think stress it's just a really bad, like, it affects me personally really bad. Like, for example, ladder was also very stressing for me. Even though I got my finishes, you know, I got what I wanted, I just wasn't I don't know, I just wasn't as happy, and I wasn't as you know, confident in my play, and my head would be like overthinking stuff and all that. But now that I can just you know, take a step back, relax a bit, and enjoy the game, I think it's been way better for me personally. Because I know that it doesn't work like that for everyone, right? I don't want to, because that's what some people got from what I said the last time, and I don't want it to sound like that.
Well, that's why I wanted to have you the opportunity to clear it up. I personally didn't interpret it that way. I interpreted it as finding a way to relax outside of the game. When you've done enough, you know, enjoy life. I think that's really important.
Yeah, that's the biggest part.
Fino, I have a question more specifically about this series, and I'm going to say it right out. I think I disagree with you, but I still want to hear your thought process. You decided to play your Shadow Step on your Evil Miscreant turn 3 instead of saving it for an Edwin the next turn. Can you walk us through why you were thinking that?
Because I don't think I can lose the game, and I didn't think I needed to make a bigger cliff. I think I just needed to have a lot of resources to be able to deal with whatever Bunny has, right? And I also, I think I healed my Miscreant. I don't remember exactly the spot, but I just couldn't think of a way I lose. Like, I didn't care to make a bigger cliff. That was my thought process. I thought it would be good enough, and I had good enough plays for the next of my turns, that I'd rather get more luckies and, you know, have more options instead of making a bigger cliff, and then, I don't know, like being weak to something like his sap, for example. So I'd rather have more resources. That's about it.
I do want to point out that in that game, when you set up the Edwin, you also had the Lackey on board. And going into your turn 6, Bunny has the option of either killing your Edwin or killing the Lackey. In that position, he
I was thinking about that.
I knew it!
Yep.
I told you.
Yep.
I told you he was thinking about it.
Well, Fino,
Yeah, because
you're
I
telling
mean,
me
if you
thinks?
hit the Togwaggle, and you hit like a Shark with a decreased mana, the game is over. If you hit a Giant, the game is over. Like, you can hit so many things in my deck that just instantly end the game. It's so good to, like, you know, get it off, actually.
Were you thinking about that spot prior to drawing Togwaggle, or was that the door is open for now, you want to find where Edwin fits in?
I mean, I want to do the best tempo play I can each turn. I feel like that's very important in the current state of the game. And I think that was the best tempo play right there. And it also benefited me that if he wanted to clear the Edwin, he probably couldn't clear the small guy. And then the small guy lets me play the big guy, and the big guy ends the game. So.
That's the simplest way to break it down, I think I can imagine.
Yeah.
And so last question for you. You are 8-0 now through Grandmasters. You've even started to win rematches at this point. Who do you think is most likely to stop you from having the perfect 14-0?
I mean, I've only lost games to Boar and Bunny, right? So I don't know. I guess Boar. But Boar, if he starts listening to me about decks, then maybe. If he keeps doing his raiding party stuff, then it's not gonna be easy. I'm just gonna be straight here.
Hey, it looks like it's been working out for him lately, but it's been working out for you pretty fantastically as well. Fino, congratulations on your win, and look forward to seeing you play in Vegas.
Thank you, guys.
Fino is the longer I've known him, sort of the more open he will be with anything joking. But I am glad that he was able to clarify what he meant about taking a step back to relax. It wasn't that he was just putting a halt to it and be like, I'll figure it out in the meantime. It's that once he's done enough, he's done enough.
You got to realize that Fino was grinding nonstop all of last year for points for the European region. I mean, you can't do that without sacrificing something, whether it be social life or sleep. But honestly, like this new system, I think is really benefiting him. He doesn't have to spend as much time worrying about stuff like ladder. He just focus on the tournaments.
And you've experienced that firsthand as well, traveling for tour stops.
It's really fun. At some points, you feel like, maybe this week I'll take it off.
Fino didn't take those weeks off last year, it seemed like. But now you're seeing the fruits of those labors. Take a look at the standings and see where we're at. It's pretty much everyone else who's been making sacrifices when it comes to Fino. It's 8-0 match score. If the 4-3s that play today with Viper and Kalento, if they don't win their matches that are coming up, Fino will have a 4-match lead with 6 left to go.
That's just... How do you even overcome that if you were Viper, Kalento, or any of these guys that are 3 and 4?
I don't know. That's insane. My goodness, it has looked impressive. We can take a look at the schedule and see what we still have in store. That was our match of the day that took place. Fino took it by a score of 2-0 over Bunnyhoppor, and we saw Pablo vs. Psycho and Orange vs. Case take place. But we got 3 more coming up, Gallon.
Yeah, we got Kalento versus Boston next. I'll be excited to see how this one pans out. We haven't really seen that much of Bomb Warrior this week from Europe. I think it's only Kalento.
Yeah, and I think that, if I recall correctly, I'm like 99% sure this is the first week that Kalento has brought Bomb Warrior to this one. And I've loved his Warrior play throughout the years and watching how he navigates it. So I'm excited to see that one next, which is next coming up. Kalento versus Boston is our 4th match of the day, but we got 6 of them because it's Super Sunday. So stay tuned. We got that match coming up. Hearthstone Grandmasters in the European region. Stay tuned.